Hi cuties! Please ignore how I look and where I am. Those explanations are coming soon. Well, I can give you one for the way I look. I worked very late tonight, and it's late, and I need to film this video. And I don't have my makeup with me because I'm in a new location. That answer will be coming in a later video. But for now, we're gonna talk about other things. Hi! This video is in collaboration with a lovely group of other author tubers for No More Ableist Books. I've linked all of their channels down below with their respective videos in part of this collaboration. But this collaboration is all in favor of showcasing books that display disabilities in a more positive light or an accurate portrayal of said disability. Because I am not physically disabled, I've decided to chosen. I write books. I have decided to choose a topic that's a little bit more closer to me, and that is mental illness. The invisible disability. I myself have depression. So I really end up connecting with books that portray depression and anxiety in a very accurate manner. And I get really excited about those books that I can really connect with. And so I would like to share with you today my top 10 authors, in ranked order, which I hardly ever do, but I sat down and ranked them, who portray mental illness in their books in either a positive way or an accurate way. Granted, this is not a definitive list, it is my list, because these are the people that I have read and enjoyed. You may have some other authors that you think are better than these. Feel free to put those in the comments. I would love to read more books because you know me, I can't stop buying books. Ignore these boxes next to me. I'm fine, I always need more books. So first off, I'm gonna just mention some quick honorable mentions before I get to the top 10, because I did come up with a list of a lot more than 10, but I wanted to shorten it. So some honorable mentions include Laura E. Weymouth, who wrote The Light Between Worlds. I think this does a very accurate portrayal of depression and PTSD. It leaves you kind of hanging at the end, so I did enjoy this book a lot, but it is very sad. You are warned. Also, Laura Eve, who wrote The Duology of the Graces. I think this one also has a really good portrayal of depression and anxiety and a few other mental illnesses that aren't really declared but can be interpreted by the reader, so I will leave that up to you. I absolutely love the Graces and the Curses. It was such a good read in my opinion. Not everybody loves them, but I do, because it gave me the serious The Craft vibes, as well as just this magical place that's kind of, you don't know if it's real magic or not, which is something that I absolutely love and attach to. I would put Anna Marie McLemore on this, but she's not so focused on mental illness, but that's the same vibe. Also, S.J. Jones, who wrote Winter Song and Shadow Song duology. So she has really great portrayals of not only depression, but of manic bipolar, and others as well that play into it. And it's not so obvious, but you do read in her author notes, because she does have bipolar depression, and she wrote the books in order to portray that. I think they're really good, but I don't know if it's as clear in the text about it being bipolar. I had a difficult time kind of establishing that until I read the author's note, and then I went back and went, oh, okay. So it's a really good book, and I really enjoyed the duology, but it just didn't quite make my top 10. Also, currently reading PC Cast Tales of a New World, and I wanted to briefly mention it because it also tackles depression and PTSD in a few characters. It's not a main focus, which is why it's not part of this list, but I do think it has a good, accurate portrayal, especially for loss and the depression that comes with loss and PTSD from a seriously traumatic incident. So there you go. And the last one is Tiffany D. Jackson, who wrote Monday's Not Coming, which was a recent read of mine. The problem is, I can't tell you what the mental illness is without majorly spoiling this for you. So that's why this is not on the top 10, because I really want to tell you what it is, but it's the plot twist, so yeah, go read it. So those were my honorable mentions. Now let's get to the top 10. This was very hard, and I think even as I'm looking at my list, I want to switch a few, but it's written in ink. It's there. This is how we're doing. Some of these are much closer together and shiftable, except for my number one. My number one is my number one, hands down. And if you know me, you already know what my number one is. We'll leave that for then. So in 10th place, we have Benjamin Alir-Sainz, who is the writer of The Inexplicable Logic of My Life and Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. I believe Benjamin Alir-Sainz does a very good job portraying different mental illnesses, not just depression. In Inexplicable Logic, one of the characters deals a lot with certain anger issues, and I thought that was very interesting because you don't really see this portrayed a lot, but I thought the way that he wrote it is very good. And then in Aristotle and Dante, I think he does a really good job of exploring the human psyche, not necessarily a full mental illness, but a mental journey that you can also see as being traces of certain mental illnesses, being depression, of being anxiety, in various characters as well, not just the main character. So he is in my number 10 slot. I think they're a very good read. And in number 9, we have Marie Lu. Marie Lu is very famous for writing the Legend trilogy, but that's not the trilogy I want to talk about. I want to talk about The Young Elites. So The Young Elites came out of nowhere and surprised me this last year, and it was just epically awesome. And we see a lot of different mental illnesses in this through the reaction to all of these characters' kind of superpowers that they get. Not real superpowers, but abilities that they have. And our main character, we do see some idea of schizophrenia with her, which is not commonly written about. It's not necessarily the most positive portrayal of schizophrenia, but I did think it was a very interesting take on the traditional kind of how Hollywood and them take anyone with schizophrenia. I thought Marie Lu did a really good journey for the main character and her development with her abilities and how that affected her psyche. There are other characters that also have different kinds of mental illnesses portrayed, but the main character is the real one that I thought was just very well constructed in its arc and portrayal, even though if it wasn't quite as positive as I would have liked it to be, but still very good and very gripping. Number 8 is Suzanne Young, who is the author of The Program. I haven't actually finished this series yet. I have finished the first 4 books. I have the last 2 finally, and I'm planning on reading them this year at some point. But the entire premise of The Program revolves around mental illness, specifically depression that leads to suicide. It's kind of this dystopian world where all of the youth are in danger of killing themselves because they become too depressed, but there's more dystopian in it. But I think it's a really good exploration of how especially negativity, and especially in our climate right now with everyone kind of holed up in their houses, are going to deal with depression and how negativity can breed. It's interesting in this and how they want people to tell them about their feelings and about when they're experiencing depression, but you also don't because of the dangers of exposing yourself in this. So I think that this series is an interesting look at kind of the double-edged sword of talking about your depression with people. It's kind of like you have to be safe and you have to be cautious about who you talk to because you don't know who's going to take it what way. And that's a very real thing for people with depression. It's not something that I talk about. I don't think I've ever actually like fully come out onto a video and been like, hi, I have depression. I kind of do a lot of self-deprecating humor that leads to that, but in all honesty, I have depression. I have medication for it, and it's something that some people will not be as comfortable talking with it. Some people will just joke about it. Some people will think, oh, you're just trying to be in the trend of it, which is kind of ridiculous to think that mental illness is a trend and people are just saying, oh, I have anxiety, depression, because it's like the cool hip thing. Like, if you have depression and anxiety, it's not fun. It's not something that most of us are proud of having. I would really love to not have depression, but here we are. Anyway, tangents. This is what Suzanne Young's writing did to me. It made me go on this big rant, and that's why she's on my list. Number 7 is Mindy McGinnis. Now, I have only read Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis, and I have read the synopses of other books from her, and I'm really excited for her new book to come out soon. But I do think just from reading Female of the Species that she's very in tune with how her characters' minds work, and a very accurate portrayal of different mental illnesses and a lot of combination mental illnesses. It's not really stated in Female of the Species, but one of the main characters you can kind of see being on the autism spectrum, and also with a few other combinations of what's going on in their mind and how this story unfolds. Granted, this is lower on my list because it's not necessarily positive as well in its portrayal. It is also a very sad story, but again, I do feel it's very accurate for how these characters in general were portrayed in the book. Number 6, coming out of nowhere, is an indie author who I have the book. I actually have one of the books I can talk about with me right now. I just finished reading The Hands Were Given by O.E. Tierman. This is the first in the Aces High trilogy. The other 2 are sitting here, and I really want to read them, but I did just finish reading this book, and wowza! Not at all what I expected, but everything that I wanted. O.E. Tierman is a pen name. It's actually a collection of authors. I think 2 or 3 authors, I can't remember, I've only met one of them. They collaborated on this. It is actually like a military dystopian sci-fi, and that is not the type of book I normally read, but boy am I glad I picked this up. So, one of the main characters in this is trans. Even though I don't have, the experience of being trans or anything, I know that these experiences, especially with like body dysphoria, can lead to more mental illnesses, and for our main character, Aiden, that is definitely portrayed, along with other characters like Kevin as well, suffers from different mental illnesses, who also uses certain drugs. It's not like hard drugs, but it is a pill called Stay Wake, which is like a super adrenaline caffeine drug that he is somewhat addicted to. It does portray some heavier themes in here, but Aiden's story entirely of being trans and being a commander of this wild card rambunctious military outpost group, having to come to terms with that, having to come to terms with a romance in here, seeing the exploration of Aiden's thoughts and how his whole experience from being trans and being in this position of power, how that affects his psyche. So he does suffer from certain anxieties from this, because obviously this is a big secret. Not a lot of people know. You'll see in the universe from reading this book that it's run, like the whole dystopian world is run by several different corporations, and other corporations are much more conservative thinking and would persecute Aiden for this. So there's severe anxiety from being in this position that can put Aiden in a lot of danger. So you get a lot of inside looks at the psyche of these characters. There's also a young girl character who has a stutter, and while a stutter is more physically visible, hers is still more connected, I think, to mental trauma and her own dislike of anyone touching her and her reactions to when that happens. So it's a really good exploration. It's a fantastic book. If you're looking for an indie book and you're worried about it not being great, because indie books struggle a lot, definitely pick this book up. It's so good. It took me a long time to read, but that's just because I accidentally left it at work when I had a vacation, and I was really upset about it. But once I got down to being, having it in my hands and reading it, you devour this. I think this is also on audiobook as well. Just the first one, not the other 2 that I know of at least. But guys, it's so good. I'm sorry, I'll stop. This is the problem with getting me to do these collaboration videos. I get so excited just to talk about these authors. And especially when I find an indie author that I love. Like, sometimes when I do March of the Indies, it's not great. I read some books that are just not good. And it hurts me, but this book gave me life. Okay, for real, I'll stop. We're on number 5. Number 5 is iconically Suzanne Collins and The Hunger Games. No, we are not talking about the movies. Granted, decent portrayal in the movies of mental illness. Better portrayal in the written text. Suzanne Collins really explores PTSD and all that comes with having PTSD, including things like depression and anxiety. I think she does an epically well done written job of this. I really do want to reread Hunger Games just in time for the new book that's going to come out. I am nervous as hell for the new book, but I think Suzanne Collins is really great at portraying this, especially in Katniss and in Peeta as well, for everything that he goes down with the tracker jackers and the manipulation in his mind. It's just a very well done portrayal of how the mind can be molded and the trauma that comes from doing that. So yeah, I mean, what more can you say about Hunger Games aside from that it's awesome and it was a very important cultural shift, especially in the book world when we got Hunger Games. So well done, Suzanne Collins. Well done. Please don't pull a Rowling. The 4th, 3rd, and 2nd spot are very difficult for me. They flip-flopped a lot, but I'm sticking to my guns here. Number 4, I'm putting Libba Bray, the author of The Diviners. The Diviners, it's not focused on mental illness, but it's such a wide cast of characters, and many of them do have different mental illnesses. We have Evie, and Evie definitely suffers from depression, but she hides it a lot because she's a very peppy character. But once you get down to the core of Evie, she really does suffer a lot from this. You have other characters who are suffering from PTSD, who are suffering from the depression, anxiety that is tied to their sexual orientation. You do also have physical disabilities in this book as well, especially with Ling. Ling is what had infantile paralysis and she cannot walk, so you do get a physical disability in this. She has crutches, so she kind of walks, but it does come into play a lot about how disabled she is and how she can't keep up with everyone. But she also is ace and is homoromantic ace, and there's a bit more into that psyche that I'm not sure what Libba Bray was trying to portray. That is something I will leave up to you with Ling's character, especially in the final book of the quadrilogy of the Diviners. And please don't let it be over because I need it. I need more. Give me more Libba Bray, bless me. The Diviners is an absolutely great series. I really want to read more of Libba Bray's work. I have some of her other books. I just haven't gotten to them because they're not here. Because these are all the books I have with me right now. Again, I'll explain that in another video. Number 3. I was hesitant to mention this because it's more of a horror book, but it's fantastic. And that is Dawn Kurtagage and her book, And the Trees Crept In. Without spoiling everything for you guys, you definitely see some serious mental illnesses, a variety of them, in the main character, and she has depression. There is some forms of OCD in this. There are forms of PTSD and just a lot, and you might think schizophrenia as well. There is a lot going on in this book, and this book is entirely an exploration of the mind. And I really don't want to spoil it for you because it is excellent. The audiobook is chef's kiss excellent. If you want something that is a horror genre but will really make you think, this is the book for you. I won't know if I would say horror, but like suspenseful thriller, but this is that book that you should read. You can read it physically or the audiobook. Both of them are going to be very pleasing visually and audibly. Visually? I said visually. Visually and audibly. Audio? I don't. It's like 10 o'clock. I'm so tired. Dawn Kurtikich, I'm really excited to read the other book I have of hers, which is called The Dead House, and I'm hoping it's going to give me those same feels and explorations because she's just really good with this, so highly recommend. Number 2. I was pretty certain this was either going to be two in the 2, 3, and 4s, but I was really like, you know what, this one is number 2, and that is Jessica Brody, and I read her book The Chaos of Standing Still. Chaos of Standing Still not only deals with depression, anxiety, but heavily on OCD. This is a story about a young girl whose best friend was killed in a car accident, and she is suffered from that. She has a PTSD from this traumatic incident. She is stuck overnight at DIA right here in Denver International Airport over New Year's Eve, and she's trying to get home, which is also the anniversary of her friend's death. And so she has been living a completely changed life since before her friend died. She also hallucinates this friend, but the biggest mental illness that's portrayed in this is definitely her OCD, and how she has to have her phone organized and how she has to have certain things done a certain way. I think it's really, really well done and really uplifting. It's positive because she gets a romantic interest in this. She grows in this, even though the mental illness is not it's not a miracle cure. I can't talk. Mental illness is not miraculously I can't talk. She doesn't suddenly become cured now that she has a romantic interest or has made friends. She still is who she is, and the changes that happened to her over the past year are still part of her, and I think that's where this is more in a much more positive light, even though, boy, this story made me cry. I read it at a time where I had also recently lost my oldest best friend, and it was very rough that way. It's just so accurate though. So definitely pick up The Chaos of Standing Still. Jessica Brody writes a lot of different things. I think I have Sky Without Stars behind me. Yes, so Jessica Brody wrote Sky Without Stars along with Joanne Rendell, which is a Les Mis retelling in sci-fi, so it's here because I really hope to read that soon. Highly recommend. Okay, it's time for number 1. I'm gonna give you 10 seconds to guess who I have picked as my number 1 yet again in almost all lists that I come up with for something else. It could be anything. It's just always going to end up a number 1 book and author. I'll give you 10 seconds to guess who it is. Go. Who could it be? Who is it? Come on. You know who it is. I never, ever shut up about them. Did you guess it? Francesca Zappia, Eliza and Her Monsters. Also Made You Up and now entering Adamsville. Did you guess it? I never shut up about her. I know. Francesca Zappia wrote Eliza and Her Monsters, and this focuses heavily on anxiety, social anxiety in particular. She also wrote Made You Up, which focuses on schizophrenia. And now entering Adamsville, which is very different, but still portrays different mental illnesses. Francesca Zappia is so good at writing mental illnesses in both a realistic and positive way. She is the queen of doing this, in my opinion, and you won't change it, all right? My word is law now. It's just so good. I could literally cry over her writing all the time. If you haven't read this stuff, this was my number 1 book of 2018, and I love it. She writes such beautiful stuff and such real stories with real characters that are so fleshed out that you can't help but connect with them. I can't stop gushing about Francesca Zappia. I would probably like cry and scream if I ever met her in real life, because what she has done for me as a reader who reads these kind of books has given me such hope and just delight in reading these stories. And these books give me confidence. They help me. These are kind of my own non-pill form of medicine for my own depression. And it feels like you're so seen when you see these characters, when you see what they're going through. It just makes you feel like you're not alone, because look at these characters. They're experiencing the same things that you are. It's so beautiful to have that connection. I will never shut up about Francesca Zappia. I will temporarily shut up to wrap up this video, but if you ever want me to keep talking about her, I will. So I won't stop. And there you have it. Those are my top 10 authors that accurately and sometimes positively portraying mental illnesses in their books. Have you guys read any of those? What are some other books that you think I should read that accurately portray mental illnesses? Because it's definitely a topic that is very close to my heart. Don't forget to check out all of the other authors in their videos down below in the description. And you can see a lot more books that we are just trying to get the word spread out about them, because there is no room in 2020 for ableist books. No more. We're done with that bullshit. Check it out. Thank you guys for watching my video, despite the lack of makeup and my normal setting, but we're gonna be here for a while. Hooray! Cool. If you have any further questions or comments, leave them down below. If you like the content that I put out, please feel free to check out my Ko-fi and buy me a hot chocolate, because I don't drink coffee. I will see you next time, cuties. Bye.